2021 workshop for Parkland School District. Tonight we're going to hear a presentation on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and presented by Dr. Mark Maston, Dr. Michelle Manati, and Ms. Kelly Rivera. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Maston.
Great, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Hine, and welcome school board members and members of the community. I want to welcome first Ms. Kelly Rosario and Dr. Michelle Manati. They're going to be co-piloting this presentation for us this evening. Actually, Kelly will be driving with the PowerPoint. I'm going to start with just trying to frame a little bit of where we are and the purpose of this presentation to inform the board and community about the continued work around diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging that we have within our district. COVID has presented numerous challenges for everyone, and certainly public education is no stranger to that, as we've seen in many, many different capacities. And some of the work in this area also has been not put on hold, but certainly maybe hasn't moved forward as quickly because of some of the concerns we had with getting everyone back to school 5 days a week, the COVID protocols, and moving forward as a district with those things that we needed. But we did feel that this right now, today, where we are, would be a really good opportunity to kind of reset the work that we've done and the work that we continue to plan to do as we move forward. And also, it gives us an opportunity to correct a little misinformation that also is out there in the community and sometimes even has been brought to the board in terms of the work that this committee and the district has done in this area. And so we want to make sure that we can reset that, re-communicate our core beliefs that really stems and goes to the heart for us as a district, that we want all of our students, our staff, our families to feel like they belong in this district, so that they have a seat at the table, that their voices are not only do they have a voice, but their voice is also heard. And that's really what we're trying to do and accomplish with this presentation and the work that this committee and the district will continue to move forward with. So this slide just represents a little bit about this idea of equity. And we just put in, and there are many other examples, but we wanted to highlight in 4 critical areas that we've seen across the district, not just this year, in the past year, but over several years. Areas that we strive for, that we've hit, and areas that we still need to continue to work through and work on. And that first one on there is technology. As you know, we have a Chromebook for every child. Where at one point maybe that wasn't the case. In addition to that, we know that not every family in our school district may have access to Wi-Fi and internet access at home. And so the technology team and the administration, with the board's support, was able to provide Khajiit hotspots for students and families to make sure that they had access to the internet. We view that as a key component to what we call equity, that we wanted to make sure that we have so many digital resources, that access to information is so critical. We wanted to make sure that our students and our families have that. We consider that to be a core component to equity. Additionally, we put instructional. One of the key pieces in our view to the work around equity is the idea of reading on grade level by grade 3, and how important that is for our students. That's not new work. That's not, hey, we just started it last spring. That's been work in the district, fundamental to the district for many years, and will continue to be. The research is clear, our evidence is clear that when students have that ability to read on grade level by grade 3, they have the ability to access higher level courses when they get to high school. It doesn't mean they will. It doesn't mean we're saying everyone has to. What we're saying is that they have the ability and the access to if they so choose. We talk about the community. Through many forums that we have and feedback, we know that the community continues to grow. We have more and more people moving into our district, which is a great thing. We need to make sure that we welcome our new students and we welcome our new families. And we put a lot of effort and a lot of time in, but we also realize that sometimes the efforts that we put in may hit the mark and other times they do not. So we want to make sure that those families feel welcomed when they're here. So again, community, we view that as a piece to welcome our students and our families as a piece of our equity work. And in terms of staffing, it's really important that we are growing in our diverse population within our district. And it's important that we look for ways to increase the pool of diverse candidates. We hire the best and the brightest. That we've seen it in our board meetings every week, every month when we have our board meetings, when you're hiring our staff, inclusive of this evening, when we have our regular board meeting. So we base those hirings on the best candidates, but we also need to make sure that we're putting out efforts to really attract a more diverse pool of candidates. So when we talk about equity, we view it for these 4 areas, and there's others, but we just wanted to highlight some things that we've done over the past year, we continue to work forward with, and we've done even over the past several years, more so even than when this Equity and Inclusion Committee started last spring. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rosario for the next few slides.
Thanks, Mark, and good evening, board. So we just first wanted to start with what we accomplished last year, because as we all know, it was a tough year last year. We were in a pandemic, and we felt like equity was more important than ever due to that. We wanted to make sure all of our students had, to Mark's point, the technology they needed to learn from home. And so we continued with this work, and in the culture area, we have PD on trauma-informed schools for all of our staff. Something we accomplished. We monitor new students' progress, keep an eye on them, how are they doing, keep in contact with their families, and we investigated and introduced restorative practices. We have some more work to do there, but I know we had presentations in the past about that restorative practice as an alternative to traditional discipline. In the curriculum area, we finished our kindergarten through 5th grade social studies curriculum work, and they are using that this year. Going well. And our secondary core resources were selected for this year, and they're implementing new textbooks. And that is part of our 6-year cycle. That last year we investigated new social studies resources. This year we implement, and we're working on updating the curriculum, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. And then we developed our staff equity cohort that met regularly throughout the year to talk about things, to open up themselves and to really kind of reflect on things that are for adults. And that's where Ken Shelton came into the work. And he met with them, throughout the year. And he also was part of our speakers with the community. And so some of our accomplishments in this area is that we launched the Equity and Inclusion Community Committee and had some speakers there for them and had some great conversations and breakout rooms. We did it all virtually, and I'll tell you a little bit, but we're looking forward to meeting coming up in December in person with our community group. We held an open community forum in April where we took community questions, and we also translated our district publications. And the link is to our full equity plan. But those were the things we were able to accomplish last school year. And just wanted a new graphic on the difference between equality and equity. So at the top, you can see equality, where every student has the same tool. In this case, it's a bike. And at the bottom, equity means that every one of those students got the bike that they need to be successful to ride. And that's the way that we look at equity through that lens of education. We want to give every student the opportunity to be successful. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark.
So as we mentioned, we just were highlighting a few things that we have accomplished and continue to work on. And really, we were very fortunate to start this school year with this idea of renew, reconnect, and thrive. And some of that, as we mentioned, we had a cohort meeting in April with the community. It's been a long time. We're going to have that happen again next month in December. So we really look forward to being able to move forward. And what that means is we've done some work internally with our administrative group. Many of the principals are here this evening to look at what does this mean for us. Now that we've had a lot of information, we continue to get asked questions about, well, what does equity work look like in the Parkland School District? And what does diversity look like? And how do we move forward? And so some of that work we started to work on together to come up with some beliefs and some ideals on what this is going to look like. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle. Thank you. And this is just an excerpt of that statement that we have been working on. We're going to bring that to that community meeting next month so that we can kind of dive into it a little bit. This is not something that is set in stone. We want to make sure, as we've said many times, and you've heard me say publicly many times, we want to hear from all sides. We need voices from all different angles, because that's the voices of our students, and that represents all of the kids in the district. And so we want to make sure that we are moving forward together. And so it's not one side versus another. We're trying to make sure that we pull all of our resources together for the benefit of all of our students. So that will be part of the work. I'm not going to read that for everybody. You can see it there. And also, we'll have that linked to the website once we start to go through that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. When we talk about culture, especially our school culture, we know that's very important to all of us. It's our responsibility as a school community to create those opportunities to help students feel welcome and belonging. We want everybody to come together and certainly not fall apart. So there are so many amazing things that happen in our schools, but just to name a few of them, when we talk about inclusion and belonging, the elementary programs have the school-wide positive behavior. Middle schools have Take a Stand anti-bullying. The high school is implementing character counts, and they've already focused on caring, responsibility. In November, they're focusing on respect. We have a kindness crusade, which is a service project, and every school is taking part in that. And you'll be hearing a little more about that in January, and then in the spring, we're going to actually be having our kindness crusade, which will be a wonderful event. We also have our Superintendent Student Leadership Council this past Friday, and Dr. Madison did an awesome job leading in front of the students. We had students from both middle schools and the high school. It was a great opportunity for them to just learn a little bit about leadership, but also just to share their voice. What is their experience in the school? And at the end of the day, we want to learn from them and work together to make our school community even better. The Employee Resource Group, that's another opportunity we have. We have 2 foundation grants. We have scholarships for Parkland students entering into education. We are doing lunch and learns about jobs right now. We also have a new advisor for our Future Teachers of America Club. And the bottom line is, as Mark mentioned earlier, we are always trying to hire more diverse backgrounds. That's experience, culture, colleges, schools, age, etc. But our goal is to continue to expand our reach and try to grow our own students to be future educators. Turn it back over to Helen.
Thanks, Michelle. So moving forward in the curriculum area, as I mentioned, we're working on the secondary social studies curriculum work. And then we'll be looking cross-curricular to make sure our English classes line up. But what I wanted to spend a little bit of time doing is just showing you specific examples of the curriculum work we're doing, trying to be very transparent as to what we're doing. So what you'll see on the left is the current curriculum map. So we study ancient Greek history, that's already in there. It's the 7th grade example. And so you can see exactly what's currently in the curriculum. As we have discussions with the teachers, on the right, it says what we're looking to update. So now we're looking to compare and contrast these different groups and to see sort of different perspectives. That's where we're trying to weave in those different perspectives. And what does this look like in the classroom? Well, they're exploring those multiple perspectives in small groups and coming up with a presentation and all learning about different aspects of it, not seeing things from one side. Another example is in American Studies with nullification. And it's already there, it's in the curriculum, we're not taking it out, but we're now looking at it from a little bit of a different angle and really digging in. What does that look like? You know, in the classroom, they would review the Constitution article and discuss nullification, and then talk about who has the upper hand here, the federal or the state, and then bring in some current contemporary events, like the gun laws and how that's the federal, and some of the states, you know, went against that. So what happens there? So just really looking at it from different angles and discussing those modern examples. And then the World Studies curriculum example, you know, the atomic bomb and World War II, and we're still studying that, but you can see from looking at the right that we're looking at it from the perspective of Great Britain, or Russia, or China. So we're looking from multiple perspectives again. So those are our 2 main goals that we've been talking about, having multiple perspectives, and our students to be able to think critically. And number 2, being able to bring in those more modern contemporary issues into our curriculum. And then as far as our professional learning, last year I mentioned we had Ken Shelton, and we focused on equity with the adults. This year with the adults, we're talking about inclusive classrooms. And so the equity cohort is meeting, and we will plan to have some professional development in March on how special education teachers and general education teachers can work together to ensure our students need that extra support are getting it and successful and meet their needs. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Michelle for some community updates.
And Kelly, if I could just add real quickly,
Yeah.
just to clarify and reemphasize, that this work in the social studies curriculum was not done just because it was last year. This has been in process and in the works, and we have a curriculum cycle that we review our core curriculums every so many years. In this case, that cycle was up every 6 years or so. So it's really important to note that this is something that is ongoing. It's something that we do in every subject area in the district. So it wasn't that it was a result of any equity inclusion committee that the social studies curriculum was reviewed and is going through this revision process. It's part of the national curriculum cycle for the
Yeah, and Jason Henry's actually going to really go in depth about our curriculum cycle at the CAC meeting on Thursday. So, he'll be talking to some community members to show what that order is. Right now, we're working on math as our next cycle. So, thanks.
Good enough. Okay. When we talk about community, I think everyone in the room can say we're Parkland proud, which is really why we all commit to this community. And we're very proud when we say we work with Parkland and we're engaged with our students as well. And we work really hard to create that bridge between home and school. That's always a key priority in everything that we do. And we also understand that communication is a huge part of that connection that people feel, which ultimately builds our community. So when we talk about one of the key things we need to do, like that listening piece, you've heard Dr. Madsen talk about it, you heard Mr. Mary talk about it. It's really important that we listen to one another. We are a Parkland family, and listening is a critical part of making sure that every voice is heard in our school community. 2 important meetings that are coming up. We have one coming up, you heard earlier, on December 1st. We're going to be reviewing and asking for input for our district statement, review of the student data from the character counts, and our focus on inclusion of our special needs students. And we are merging our equity community group with our multicultural community group as well. And then in May, we're going to be updating the Kindness Crusade and having a guest speaker on inclusion and talking about our foundation grant updates. When we talk about events to recognize and to celebrate, Ms. Rosario has been doing an excellent job sharing these with our staff, and then staff may choose to incorporate these in their classroom and share those out with us. Some on here, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Bullying Prevention Month, we have Veterans Day, World Kindness Day. There's so many on here that she shares with them. But just to show you some of the highlights from that, the red border pics, those were from Veterans Memorial. Those were from 4th grade. They celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month with a study of influential Hispanic leaders. And the blue border pictures were from a high school Spanish 3 class. The students learned about the Chicano Mexican-American student walkout that happened in Los Angeles in 1968. They were protesting the discrimination they faced by the school system. They watched an 11-minute segment from the PBS documentary, Latino Americans, and then worked in groups to answer critical thinking questions about what they saw. So in closing, thank you for listening, and do think we are truly better together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly and Michelle. Very much appreciate your assistance, and to all of our administrative staff and principals in the work that has been done throughout the past several years, and inclusive of this year, this past year, and the difficulty that we faced in so many different areas, and the ability to keep moving forward, to know that this is important work for our kids and for the future of our children in the district. So I appreciate that. And Mr. Hine, that concludes our presentation, and really the only presentation we had on the agenda for a workshop this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board members?
No, I just wanted to thank the administration for doing a stellar job with regards to this equity, diversity, and inclusion plan. I'm happy with everything I've seen, and I think we're making great strides in this area. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure who will answer, but I know on the bottom here, they talk about 2 resources regarding CRT. What are we hearing instead of CRT, but SEL at this point? As now the keyword, the phrase coming into the vernacular.
Yeah, we just heard that last month at our board meeting for the first time, and social emotional learning is a critical piece of what we do in school. Obviously, academics is our #1 priority. We want all our students to learn, but in order for them to be successful in the classroom and feel like they're part of a family in that class, they need to have those social emotional skills to be able to get along with each other and to be able to get along with the teacher. So I'm not sure how that connection, I really, don't see, I see that it's an important part of what we do, and it makes kids feel good and want to learn. But we heard that last month, and I don't know if anybody else has a response to that.
No, I mean, I think you answered it. I think that SEL has been part of, embedded into a lot of the teaching and learning that districts, not only Parkland, but many districts have undertaken for a while. And I think Mr. Rosario hit on the fact that, everybody comes in with different perspectives, and it's about their growth academically. But in order to hit that growth academically, there are some other things sometimes that are out there that we need to be aware of and that we work through and we work on.
And just to say that they are not one and the same.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. The board is now going to adjourn to executive session for real estate. The business meeting will start at 8 p.m. at 7. Thank you.
I know.